Thank you, Paul, and good morning, everybody. I'm Vesa-Matti Paananen, but everybody calls me Vesku, and I noticed that there are plenty of Veskus online this morning. And I'm the tech lead for Microsoft Finland. So in practice, what I do, I work with our local partners and helping them to build great solutions based on our technology. And now I'm talking to you about a little bit about how AI could transform your applications also in Metaverse. And I'm using our Microsoft 365 Copilot as an example. We had tons of stuff, but you will get the presentation material later. So let's kick off. So first statement, and you will have many of statements this morning from me, and not all of those are the official statements from Microsoft, but this is a friendly community, so I'm happy that you will understand. So first thing, no-brainer, artificial intelligence is everywhere. It's one of the hot topics, and when we look at the Metaverse side, I will focus on this presentation and keep this context in your mind whenever I talk is about the enterprise experiences. So the productivity part especially, and then the industrial experiences, something what we call in Microsoft industrial metaverse, where we use all these cool technologies to improve the complex operations. So this is the context. And I found this really nice 10 layers of metaverse slide from McKinsey. And this is my first statement. Yeah, you see these 4 layers from the enablers with the infra and hardware to the platforms, and then the content experiences. By the way, experience is always the most important thing. But I wanted to add kind of ground zero here. So I personally think that the AI is really the fundamental part, everything that we are doing and will do in Metaverse in the future. So I added here, sorry, McKinsey, I don't know if it's the copyright free thing or not, but anyway, now it's there. So that's why we are focusing on AI in this session. AI is not a new thing. My background, I used to study classical math and applied math in the University of Jyväskylä in late 80s and 90s. I remember doing my first harjoitustyö, this kind of what's the English word for that? But the first thing there related to AI in 1991. We had a long history of AI in Finland. Teuvo Kohonen was a guru already in the 1980s in University of Helsinki. So we get to the machine learning. So this is really a subset on AI where machines learn from the existing data, so learning systems, and little by little, the theory and applications they got better. So we get into deeply learning, and where the layers of neural networks. So we started to mimic human brains. They are used to process data and make decisions. But the jackpot was 1921 when we got the generative AI to the mainstream. So now the AI was able to do stuff that we think that only human beings can do. But it's not just a one big thing like a GPT announcement. We had a history of AI and machines to get the human parity, from the object recognition speed, machine translation, reading comprehension, speech synthesis, yada yada yada. And then with GPT-4, actually they can really handle and get the good results like a 90%, for example, SAT math test and stuff like that. So this is pretty phenomenal, and this provides us a basis when we go further. But why this generative AI is different? If you think about the traditional artificial intelligence models, we have this kind of vertical models for different kind of things. For example, sentiment analysis, summarizations, classification, stuff like that. But when we have these foundational models like GPT-4 or Codex or stuff like that, they can do all these in one box. And especially I like this summarization part, because this is really tough thing for human brains and human being, and it's time consuming. So putting all these things together, now we have totally new tools to build the applications for the metaverse. And currently, if you use ChatGPT or Bing Chat, stuff like that, typically we can handle text and image. and give a input and then get the output in text and image. But very soon, and there are already some examples here, that we will also be able to put audio in and get audio out, video. So this kind of multimodal multimedia stuff. So for example, you can look at something what's going on and then ask questions. So here's a very standard example that what will happen if the ropes are cut? Okay, AI will answer, balloon will soar into the sky. So they understand that, they understand context and all the reasoning and stuff like that. And last evening I really had to test it with the latest Bing chat. So I took this photo, copy pasted it, and asked what will happen if the ropes are cut. And answer was actually really interesting. So okay, the ropes are cut and balloons will lose their support, and the house, so it's thinking about that this is a house, will be lifted off the ground. The house will fall back to ground due to gravity. Yes. Balloons will float away in the air until they eventually lose their buoyancy and come back to down as well. That's true too. But then comes the funny part. It's important to note that this is a fictional scenario inspired by the movie Up and not the real life situation. I really had to go down to memory lane to the 2009 and this big picture movie Up, and I watched the trailer again. And really there was a flying house there, and they were flying with the balloons. So pretty impressive to be, and under the Bing and chat it's a GPT-4 model with some extensions. Good stuff. Oh, thanks for copy pasting that. But that's not a house. I can't remember the kid's name, but anyway, that was from the movie. One thing that I really want to highlight for you, that there are two different companies, and this creates a lot of confusion with our customers and also with some of the partners. So OpenAI is a company who Microsoft has also invested in. They are building these foundational models. So for the text GPT 3, 3.5 and GPT-4, for the chat conversational foundational model for chat GPT and chatting, codecs for coding that we use, for example, in GitHub Copilot, and for the images DALL-E 2. But then Microsoft, we license these models and use them in our own solutions and in our own applications, like Copilots, like Ping, like GitHub Copilot, and yada, 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 all these things. So we are separate companies. So OpenAI has been a lot of in the media, and there has been discussions that don't use ChatGPT in your corporate, in your enterprise, because of leaks and stuff, and your input is used to train the foundational model and things. But when you use it with the Microsoft, I will get to this, those things are not happening because we are running everything in your tenant. And another thing here is that, of course, they are not in par. So something is, we add some features in our ecosystems and they have features in our ecosystem. But good things that they are really well working together, and I will get back also to that. But please keep these two things separated. And sometimes I think that it would have been actually better to call Azure OpenIE services as Azure closed IE services, to make this distinction and make people to understand that the security is handled there. Azure is not just these OpenAI models. We have our own models also that you can use, ZCO for the language translation. We have collection of Azure cognitive services, and then there's different kind of applied AI services. I take an example. For example, the language service might be better to use in translations. You can go and check what's the transactional price per transaction in Azure in different services, and you can have, for example, cost savings here. Or there you can use, for example, immersive reader or form recognizer to digitalize forms and use them in your applications. So really you have a lot of stuff to select from using Azure AI Studio, and you can decide which are the best meet the challenge that you are solving with the AI and with our technology. So just keep in mind, it's not just Azure OpenAI services. One phenomenal thing, of course, was how fast ChatGPT was adopted globally. So I found this kind of chart that it says that it took mobile phones 16 years to reach 100 million customers, users globally, internet 7 years, Facebook 4.5, and for ChatGPT that took only 3 months. And why? Well, I think we really love to chat using natural text. So kind of what we did with ChatGPT, we cracked the user experience challenge to bring the AI and bring these new advanced foundational models to the mainstream. And this natural language processing we have been talking a lot, and this is also super important to understand when you build your metaverse applications. This is a good example that how you could actually reach 100 million users even faster, and this is a challenge for you. So one example, now I'm getting to the example. So I wanted to share Bing Chat Enterprise, which is our AI-powered chat for work with you, because you have to keep in mind that when we are in this industrial metaverse or enterprise metaverse domain, we have to keep in mind few things. And this is example for us that we have a special version for Bing Chat, which is for free, by the way, all those users who have a Microsoft 365 license. So, and it's activated in your tenant in August. So basically here we built this product and brought it available for all of you because there is a privacy. So chat data is not saved anymore. We as a Microsoft, we have no ION access to that. So, and data is not used to train the foundational model. So we have all the commercial data protection things in place. And let's look at the first video. I'll show you one very brief video that what Bing Chat Enterprise user experience is. And by the way, here are the links to the YouTube for the videos for the better resolution. So protecting your personal and enterprise data, that's a key thing whatever you build, and we will get back to these fundamentals soon. So this was an example of a Bing Chat Enterprise. But now comes the moment of my presentation. So what I'm stating here, that this generative AI capabilities, they are really making our apps intelligent. And there's a big paradigm shift. So if you think about the current applications where we have used these pretty siloed and pretty vertical artificial intelligence, machine learning features, they have a constrained interactions first of all, typically hardcore and fixed data sets that they are using, and the if you need to change them, if you need to integrate them, typically these are costly and complex. And this is something that I want to call autopilot phase that we have been living in past years. But now with these new features and fundamental models, the paradigm is shifting to something what I would like to call Copilot phase. And I'm super happy that also Microsoft Marketing is using this term. In Finnish, I would say tukiäly instead of tekoäly. So that's something is supporting you. And when we are infusing the AI into our existing apps and restructuring, remodeling them, we get into the intelligent app that can handle natural language interaction, which is already proven many times in past months that that's very natural, and that's something that customers and users want. We can provide data-driven, very personalized experiences that actually improve over the time. So everything that you have seen and you will see from Microsoft, for example, those Copilots being chat, it's constantly improving, and that's the nature of machine deep learning, learning-based stuff, and it also means that you can quickly deliver new features. So keep this really in mind and think about now your own applications. And I think this is a huge opportunity with the intelligent apps, because they just, I think they revolutionize how just everything gets done. And I try to prove that to you. The first thing is that you have to think personas. You have to think about the process. You have to think about who is using, what kind of users you have for your applications. And our target is to provide, as Microsoft, to provide this kind of co-pilot for every role on every task. So is it executives? Is it the developers, which is actually, they have already got the coolest stuff. First, sales and marketing, human resources people. Then the operations, there are tons of stuff there, even the frontline workers, research and development, finance, reporting, deep analysis, and customer service, where we have plenty of examples already. And here we have a human plus machine. People are doing the decisions, and we are not in autopilot mode. So this is just an example that what we are doing right now or announced. So we will put Copilot, we will put these features in every single Microsoft product, and you can learn more from these. And GitHub Copilot is interesting because it has been in the market already over the years, so we have plenty of data how this has affected developer productivity. And with this one, I think it's super good to understand that one of the findings was that 75% of developers think that they are doing more interesting stuff. So more human stuff, not just copy pasting stuff all over and doing that kind of things. So 3 things. First, let's put and amplify human ingenuity with Copilot for everyone. I'll show this one. Then the second thing, I want to show how you can put these things into your own apps. So this is one of Microsoft targets, to provide these everything for you to do. And then the second one, let's discuss a little bit about safeguard business data and how we gain the trust. So let's start. What is the experience that we are providing? First of all, we studied that what the employees want from the AI, and this is pretty straightforward. Finding info and answers, summarization of meeting notes, finding action items, help them in the creative work, better analytics, help with analytical work, tools for that, even planning my day. So what are the next things that I should do, because I have so much on my plate? And then, of course, admin tasks. I'm also a manager myself, and this is what I'm really looking for. So what we ended up here, you know that we have Microsoft 365, all this good old Office stuff. So we put together large language models, GPT, Microsoft Graph. This is your data. So Microsoft Graph it has an access to all your emails, calendar, all your files, stuff where you have access. Then we took the familiar Microsoft 365 applications like PowerPoint, Excel, Teams, and put the end user experience there. And then we connected everything to the internet so we can get the updated information. And what it turned out, first I will use a PowerPoint as an example. I do plenty of PowerPoints, and you will see that what kind of magic these models will provide you. Let's check the video. Key thing here, think about now your own application. We brought this natural language user interface into the product. Then we tied the product into all your data where you have access. You can't get the Copilot will not get access to any other data that you have the access, and use that access to provide the context to your prompt, to your question where you need help. And then, because it's a Copilot, it's not an autopilot, it gives you suggestion, and you ask for the PowerPoint presentation, it gives that to you, and then you are free to edit it however you want it. And I think this was magic. And to be honest, even I wasn't able to even imagine this kind of end user experience 2 years ago. When I first time saw the Copilot in action, I was like, wow, this is better than David Copperfield in Las Vegas. And then I chip strawberry margarita. So let's then look at the other side, the other approach. So what we have studied, what we have already learned, because we have an early adopter program for very limited customers around the world, that actually those people who are team leaders or managers or people who have capability to work in teams and also also delegate things, they have been able to get more out of these copilots in this early adopter program. And think about this as your personal assistant. This is something what we have called, for example, enterprise chat. So Copilot is in your Teams here, and you can chat with it or him or them like it would have been your personal assistant. And then user experience could be something like this. I can't even imagine how much this will save time. And the pricing of this is what we have announced, that this is a $30 per user per month. And even if you gain something like 1% to 2% productivity for your users, it's ridiculously low price. Think about how cheap AI actually is in these days. If I rewind back to 91, I was using this Silicon Graphics Iris workstation within lab and doing these things, and now it's just $30 per month for me, all the power of these things. But I want to highlight and really think about the metaverse now, that we have to bring these experiences into the context. We have to ground it to the context, and this is something that I will talk next. But also at the same time, keep in mind that we did not just glue or bring GPT-4 into Office. No, this is way much more. And if you are thinking about, hey, just putting the ChatGPT into the product, that's enough. It is not enough. So we have spent pretty much of time with this. And if you think about what just happened with the Microsoft 365 Copilot, first of all, it's designed to needs of the enterprise. We keep this as this is an enterprise product. It's grounded to business data. It's comprehensive. It has comprehensive security, compliance, and privacy. These are important ones. It's architected to protect the data. It's integrated to apps you use every day. And it's pretty cool that you can actually insert this to any of your apps. So individual user and admin always in control. So it's a Copilot, and it's just designed to integrate new skills. So keep in mind, it's learning about processes. So let's get to the next. So deliver transformational experiences by building your own intelligent apps. So now this is your turn. So now really think about applications or application ideas that you have in your mind. So how I will tackle this thing is I will show you how Microsoft 365 Copilot works. So let's look under the hood. And let's start with this video that explains the Copilot systems, and then we will deep dive a bit deeper into this. I hope that you are really feeling the magic in the air. Like I said, the first time when I saw this, my jaw dropped like, what? Okie dokie. So what you just saw was that this is the idea how we do the magic. So we have this something called Copilot system here in the middle, and it's not there alone. So first of all, when you think about your own application, that's typical how you bring this into that user experience. So we had our Microsoft 365 apps, and the idea here is that when you are doing the PowerPoint presentation, you don't have to leave from the PowerPoint to the other window. There you put your prompt, and you know that users are pretty lazy with the prompts, especially than those who are not prompt engineer expert. So that prompt comes to this something what we call pre-processing. And now we have to ground it. And grounding means that we build the context. Actually, the semantic index, we will get into that very soon. And Microsoft Graph, this is just a technical name, the system that has access to your emails, files, meeting, chat, calendars, and contacts. In early 90s, I was calling this your personal information bubble. It checks there and then comes back with a modified prompt, something what is called meta prompt. And that modified meta prompt is then passed to the foundational language model, for example, GPT-4. But GPT-4, which is running in Azure, it's not there alone. there are also some responsible AI features and functions. So filters, gates, and stuff like that, that you are not asking for improper things like building a bomb or how to have a suicide kind of things. And then large language model returns the response back to the system. And then we again do the post-processing. We check again your information bubble through the graph, actually semantic index, and then we return the response to the applications. And this is, by the way, cool thing here. This system can also send commands to the applications like PowerPoint. So it can really create the PowerPoint. And one way of anybody to do that is, of course, the macro language, visual-based stuff. So then you will get the result as you saw. What are the fundamental principles? And these are also what to keep in mind. When we were building this, we kept in mind security part, compliance, and privacy. And we really had this permission-based model to protect the data. So data is in your tenant. We use the group information, your personal information, access, and that kind of stuff. So that was actually, we were able to have this kind of comprehensive approach to security and compliance and privacy because customers already using Microsoft 365. They have Azure Active Directory. They have the governance in place. And then we add the responsible AI principles. These are Microsoft principles. Well, I will get back to these. But I really encourage all of you and all the organizations, you must have your own ethics. You must have define your own responsible AI principles that you will follow. I'll get back to that. But let's get a bit too deep into the tech. This is not deep technical session, but we announced Copilot stack. That's the mechanism that you can build your AI-powered Copilots for your own apps. So here at the top, there's a Copilot front end. There are all the plugins. So you can, this is supporting also the ChatGPT plugins. Then on user experience, and then we have the whole orchestration layer. So prompt and response filtering, how to build meta prompt, how to do the grounding, how we execute blockings to the external systems. And then we have the foundational models. They can be hosted foundation models, hosted fine-tuned foundation models, or bring your own models, any open source models. And then we have Azure AI infrastructure. And the AI safety is covering all these levels. And in Microsoft 365 Copilot stack, the UX is coming from the familiar apps. Copilot UX, you already see it. Orchestration, meta prompt, these are the same. Here you are using the hosted foundation models. So you are using OpenAI models that we provide, and then everything is running in Azure AI infrastructure. We don't have time to deep dive into these, but this is something which is we announced a build a few months ago, and definitely the next Microsoft Ignite will come in November. There will be plenty of more information related to this. But we want to provide you a mechanism to do that. But what I want to highlight from this stack is something what is called retrieval augmented generation, also called RAG, which we call grounding. So this happens in customer tenant. So all the security is in play. We ground the prompt and the meta prompts using semantic index. And the semantic index is part of the Microsoft 365, which you can also use. So and then with the semantics index, then the prompts are isolated to tenant, and we use hosted foundation models from Azure, and nothing is used to model train the model. So any of your data will not get outside of from the company and be part of the GPT-X in future if something is coming. So this is how we do the natural language processing. And the semantic index for Copilots. It's actually what it does. This is AI stuff. So it computes vector embeddings from the graph data, from all the data what is available in your bubble, to capture the semantics and similarities around the content and the users. In practice, it tries to understand. It's not just this kind of stupid textures, but it tries to understand different things out of there. And it's a tenant-wide. It finds the semantics and similarities around the content and users. It does the ranking relevance. It respects security and permissions and has access to everywhere. And then the Microsoft Graph, which is for the Microsoft 365, it's under it. So it's the gateway to the data, and as well as it handles compliance, security, and privacy policies. The cool thing here is actually the graph contains about 100 plus connectors. So you can connect also the graph, for example, external sources, SAP, I think there are Twitter or X, place formerly known as Twitter, and stuff like that. So you can connect graph to other sources in your tenant or outside of your tenant controlled way to bring that information also for the Copilot. So let's look at how this works. So now you know how the magic happens, and so now you know how this works. And the cool thing with this that this kind of rack approach is very general. So you can use the similar kind of architecture in your own Metaverse application. So you have the application user interface, then you have this orchestrator, which is handling the retrieve over your knowledge base. So this was our semantic index. And then you do the query, you do the meta prompting, and then you call large language model, you get the response back, and maybe you do the post processing again, and then you return that to the applications, which can be text, images, future video, voice, whatever, or you can deliver back the meta prompt that is actually controlling your application. Good. Here are some examples. So simple custom rack application. So it's your own user interface. And of course, these can be used as a ChatGPT plugins if you want to do that in a ChatGPT environment. So that's a cool thing here that we support also the OpenAI side. Then the final part of my presentation, last 4 minutes. So trust. And this is super important to keep in mind that you can really screw things with AI if you don't have the safeguards that handles the privacy and data and stuff like that. And currently many things are related to this fact that customers are a bit worried about what kind of Pandora's box this will open if they don't have the data governance place. Holger, you have a really good point. What about AI and Metaverse? We are in the Metaverse currently. So this is what I try to explain to you, that how to use these in your Metaverse applications. So we isolate data from any other customer. I already mentioned this, no training the foundational models, and data is protected. So a few things I pointed out. So data in different geographies are stored and processed in compliance with GDPR and other privacy laws. So privacy is there by design. So when you use any of these technologies in your own applications. Data redundancy and storage. So customer data is always within home region data centers. So we don't put them between the regions. And for EU users, this is totally EU the data boundary compliant thing. And also when you do your own applications, keep this in mind that enterprise users can really use it, and it covers all these things. Security part, have your security and compliance and privacy there in place, documented it. Make sure that you don't expose the data to other organizations. Of course, this is a non-brainer. I will just go through these because you get the slides, but I wanted to highlight these things, what to keep in mind. But this is the most important thing when we proceed to more and more advanced applications and solutions based on the AI. I mentioned that you must have your own responsible AI principles. With Microsoft, we call it actually RAI. We have these 6, which are principles for everything that we do, from engineering to marketing. So any AI solution has to have privacy and security in place. It should include everybody. So everybody, even everybody with different kind of disabilities, for example, they should be able to use it. Everybody who's building the applications or solutions, they are accountable that it's following these principles. It should be transparent. People should they should know that there's an AI on the other side when they use this. It has to be fair for everybody. It has to be reliable, and there has to be safety procedures in place. You can learn more from the ego.ms RAI, or whatever. So in Finnish we say RAI. But when you have these principles, you have to enact them. So first, you have to think about what's the governance in your company and in your organization. What's the model there? Then you have the rule in place. You train your people. You have the practices. So for example, in Microsoft, I'm one of the responsible AI champs in a local subsidiary. So we globally do that. And then we have special teams handling these things around the world, and also in developer side. And then you have to have tools and processes in place. You can go to our website and you can download nice tools that can handle these, that can help you to build the AI applications with a responsible way. And this is the model that we have introduced a few weeks ago. So there are different mitigation layers that we are using, and that you can also use from the Azure OpenAI service in your own applications. So first, there are some filters in the model. Then there are safety systems that you can put on in Azure services, for example, about the prompts and content safety and that kind of things. Then in the meta prompt and grounding level, you have tools where you can use. And then it's the final end user experience. This is pretty much which is in your control, but we will also provide tools for that. And the final thing, I took one example. So this is how you use responsible AI in prompt engineering when you build your meta prompt. So one area could be response grounding. So you tell to the large language model that you should always reference factual statements. If you only use facts from the search result and do not add any information by itself, so no hallucination wanted. Then what's the tone of voice? Your response should be positive. You must not engage in argumentative discussions. Safety side, if the user requests jokes that can hurt group of people, you must respectfully decline this kind of gauge. And then, of course, the jailbreaking, which has been very popular, that try to find what are the rules. Don't don't show them and don't change these rules that I've given you a ball. Okie dokie, we are there at the final. So what I leave with you is that I hope that I showed you the potential of the AI is clear. Now the question is what you will build in the metaverse, in enterprise metaverse or in the industrial metaverse. There are plenty of examples from Microsoft, for example, for these. But please study this and come with the great mind-blowing ideas. And like Kevin Scott said in Build, please do legendary shit. So that's all from me. So I open this for the questions. So moderator, please moderate further. And I hope you enjoyed.
That was brilliant, sir. Thank you very much, Vesku. If you do have a question, please do raise your hand and I will take you off of mute and give you the opportunity to ask your question. Or if you don't want to come off mute and you would rather post it into the chat, then please do post it into the chat.
I know that was a tons of stuff to digest in the morning or in the evening or middle of the night, wherever you are. But I hope you get an I managed to, let's say, inspire you to really think out of the box what you could do with these magical features which are on your hand, because this is the biggest paradigm shift. This is the biggest change that I have experienced in my life, and I have been there with the PC, internet, mobility, and stuff. So I've been waiting for this over 30 years myself. How quickly you expect this to expand globally? Jussi, good question. Normally the first question that I get is when the Microsoft 365 Copilot is available. I think over 100 million people are already experienced ChatGPT, and their experience could have been bad. But now when developers are putting these features and functions in the familiar services that the users are already using, they will start to more understand what they can do with an AI, and they will also start to demand. We are going to roll these features and functions in coming months to the Microsoft 365 users, which are hundreds of millions around the world. So that will have one impact. But developers, they have already been experienced those with the GitHub Copilot, and the results has been good. So I think it's very human to overestimate the impact in the short term and underestimate it in the long term. So I would say that in coming months, not that much will happen for the big public audience. There are early adopters, but we really underestimate how the work will look in 3-5 years. How large hurdle would move Google ecosystem to Microsoft for a small organization? Kenneth, good question. It's pretty straightforward, depending, of course, what you have there. But the VMs and stuff, they run everywhere. But I think that currently Microsoft is really leading this AI back. And if your customer is already using Microsoft 365, they will get these automatically, just 30 US per month, and those will be enabled in your tenant if you have E3 or E5 subscription in enterprise. But it's hard to say, but I would say that this is really thing that even the smaller enterprises should think. And the best thing is that you can start playing with Bing Chat Enterprise today. So this is what I encourage all, especially consultants in the house. So talk with your customers and enable that if the customer is already Microsoft 365 user. Is Copilot coming to Microsoft Mesh in any way? I don't have anything to disclose, but what we have stated as a Microsoft is that Copilot will be in every Microsoft product. So read between the lines. But I don't have anything to announce. And definitely follow the Build conference coming, starting 15th of November online and 14th November in person in Seattle. So ignite.microsoft.com.
Brilliant. Oh, we've got one more question come in.
Do we have security of data at individual level? Mean all prompts and responses? Yes, yes, yes. So this is very important to understand. Copilots use the same data, same security, same compliance, same identity model, which is implemented in a tenant. And that's why it's so easy to deploy this or start to use it. At the other side of the coin, of course, it's good to ask from the customer, do you know what is your data governance? Do you know who got the access to this data? So suddenly data governance has become again a very sexy topic, and which is really top of the mind of the executives and also the board members of the company, because you see you also see the risks if the data governance is not handled properly.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I've been part of the Copilot early access program myself. Speaking to
You
a lot
lucky
of
one. He had to say that to everybody. I got the toys, guys
yeah.
and ladies.
And I do say it's amazing what it can do. Yeah, the stuff it can do. But just on that security and data, just to note, it's the Copilot isn't giving people access to anything that they shouldn't have access to.
Yes.
It just opens doors that they may not have opened before. So because, if you did a search, like you said earlier on, if you do a search, it brings back things you can see. Whereas when you're asking Copilot, it's still looking at the same results, but sometimes it can pick things out because the search is it's a greater way of searching.
Yeah. So that this is of course very serious topic, and that's why we really need our partners to educate themselves, and every one of us should has understand the basics of data governance. It hasn't been the most sexiest topic in the past, but now it's there, and I can only talk on behalf of the Finnish customers. But whenever we start to discuss about this, when I do these AI demos, they start to ask who can help them. So this is a huge opportunity for all the consultants and Microsoft partners here to help our customers, help organizations and companies to be AI ready. And now you have that time before we release the Copilot for everybody. So take advantage of this.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. I think that's all for questions. We are really coming to time. So thank you very much, Vesku, for that. It was a brilliant presentation. Really enjoyed it. And it's one of those ones where it's, something new and shiny and everyone loves. So thank you very much for sharing that with us today.
Thank you, and everybody enjoy the rest of the day. Unfortunately, I can't be there with you. I will listen, watching some of the presentations, but it was great to have you be there with you, and hopefully you are now inspired and ready to do legendary, Take care. Have a good day.
Cheers. Thank you very much.